The NBA has witnessed instances where players faced bans for various reasons, from on-court incidents to off-court behavior. Now, these bans can be temporary or indefinite, and the reasons behind them vary. The NBA holds its players to high standards of conduct both on and off the court. So join me as we discuss why these NBA players are banned forever. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell for more NBA videos, and follow me on Twitter. Now let's get to the video. First up, Javaris Crittenton. Javaris Crittenton was the 19th overall pick in the 2007 NBA draft, selected by the Los Angeles Lakers. And after only appearing in 22 games and averaging 3 points per game, he was traded to the Memphis Grizzlies with Kwame Brown and Aaron McKie for Pau Gasol. He would play 28 games with the Grizzlies, averaging 7 points per game before he was traded again to the Washington Wizards. And this is where I say, what goes up must come down. Now, although it seemed like things are already going in that direction, it would really get bad. And on December 10th, 2008, he arrived in Washington to play for the Wizards, and just 1 year later, him and teammate Gilbert Arenas were involved in a locker room confrontation involving firearms, and he was suspended for violating the NBA rules and the laws of Washington, D.C. During an argument regarding gambling debts, in an interview with former teammate Caron Butler, he was asked if there was going to be a trigger pull in the incident between Crittenton and Arenas. Caron Butler said, "You never know. That's the crazy thing about it." Crittenton did not play a single game with the Wizards during that season. He was waived from the team, and after the season, he never played another game in the NBA. Eventually, he was sentenced to 23 years in prison for manslaughter and assault unrelated to the Arenas situation, though he only served 10 years and he was released last year. Next up, Chris Andersen. Chris Andersen, known to most as Birdman, went undrafted in the 1999 NBA draft but became the first player to ever be called up from the D-League. He would play 3 seasons with the Nuggets and 2 more seasons with the Hornets before violating the NBA's anti-drug policy in 2006 by testing positive for banned substances. His suspension fell under the category of drugs and abuse, which were possible grounds for expulsion from the NBA, and he was suspended for 2 years before being reinstated in January of 2008, and ultimately signed in the summer of 2008 with the Denver Nuggets, playing in 4 seasons before eventually being waived and picked up by the Miami Heat in 2013, where he played 3 seasons and won an NBA championship with the Heat. He would then play for the Grizzlies and the Cavs before ultimately retiring. Next up, Gilbert Arenas. Gilbert Arenas, drafted by the Warriors in the second round of the 2001 draft, was a 3-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA team selection, Most Improved Player of the Year in 2003, and he would play 2 seasons with the Warriors before becoming a restricted free agent and reportedly flipping a coin to decide where he would play. And ultimately, he chose to play for the Wizards, and he would spend the next 7 seasons with the franchise, and for most of it, it was either good or great. But on December 24, 2009, it was reported that Arenas had admitted to storing an unloaded firearm in his locker at the Wizards arena and has surrendered them to team security. In doing so, Arenas not only violated NBA rules by bringing a firearm into the arena, but he also violated Washington, D.C.'s laws as well. And on January 1st, 2010, Arenas and teammate Javaris Crittenton had drawn firearms on each other in the Wizards locker room during a Christmas Eve argument about gambling debts. Arenas was charged with carrying a pistol without a license, a violation of Washington, D.C.'s gun control laws. He pleaded guilty on January 15th to the felony of carrying an unlicensed pistol outside a home or business. On January 6, 2010, on Arenas' 28th birthday, the NBA suspended him indefinitely without pay until his investigation was complete. Ultimately, he was suspended for the rest of the season. He would return for the 2011 season, but he was ultimately traded to the Orlando Magic as the Wizards would get off to a 6-18 start. He would play 1 season with the Magic before signing with the Memphis Grizzlies and ultimately retiring. Next up, Tyreek Evans. The 4th overall pick in the 2009 NBA draft, selected by the Sacramento Kings. He was the NBA Rookie of the Year during his rookie season, All-NBA Rookie First Team, and had potential literally oozing out of him to be so much more. He was extremely talented with the ability to create his own shot, get to the hoop with ease. He would play 5 seasons with the Kings, averaging almost 20 points per game in each of his first 4 seasons with the Kings before he left Sacramento and was signed and traded to the New Orleans Pelicans in 2013. But he would only have mild success in his 4 seasons before ultimately being traded back to Sacramento. But at this point, injury after injury was starting to catch up to him, and by the time he made it back to Sacramento, he was only averaging 11 points per game. He appeared in only 14 games with the Kings and would ultimately sign with the Grizzlies and Pacers in each of the next 2 seasons. And in 2019, he was banned for 3 years after failing a drug test. He applied for reinstatement a year later, and the NBA granted that to him. But no NBA teams have signed him, and that's the last we've seen of Tyreek in the NBA. Next up, O.J. Mayo. The 3rd overall pick in the 2008 NBA draft, selected by the Minnesota Timberwolves and traded later that day to the Memphis Grizzlies. Mayo was the runner-up for Rookie of the Year, finishing 2nd behind one Derrick Rose. And if you thought Tyreek had talent, which indeed he did, but in my opinion, he couldn't hold a candle to the type of talent and potential that O.J. Mayo had. There wasn't anything O.J. couldn't do on the court. He was literally one of my favorite players to watch. I remember first seeing him at the ABCD camp in 2006 with Kevin Love, Bill Walker, and Derrick Rose. O.J. would play 4 seasons with the Grizzlies, with his best season being his first season as he averaged 18 points per game. But as quickly as things were going up, they were coming down even quicker. On a return flight home from Memphis to Los Angeles, he was involved in a fight with Tony Allen over a debt from an in-flight card game. On January 27th, Mayo was suspended for 10 games for testing positive for steroids. Mayo blamed the over-the-counter supplement as the reason for being banned, but he declined to say which supplement was used. He later said it was an energy drink he bought at a gas station that contained the substance, and he will ultimately leave the Grizzlies. He signed with the Mavericks for 1 season, averaging 15 points with 4 assists and 3 rebounds. He declined his player option for the following season and would sign with the Milwaukee Bucks in 2013 for 3 years, $24 million. But on July 1st, 2016, Mayo was banned from the NBA for violating the substance abuse policy by smoking marijuana and abusing painkillers. He was eligible to apply for reinstatement after 2 years, but he's yet to return. And his original suspension for violating substance abuse is considered to be the longest suspension in NBA history due to recovering 2 straight seasons at once, totaling 164 games in all.